I'll just make some clarifications first. The Balfour Declaration had one very important phrase. The Balfour Declaration of November 2, 1917. It said that the religious and civil rights of non-Jewish communities cannot be infringed. So there was a violation right at the beginning by the Zionists of the Balfour Declaration. Number two, Balfour entreated Lord Rothschild to give this message to the Zionist Congress. So it wasn't really a method to Rothschild, it was a message to the Zionist Congress. Secondly, from the 1920s onwards, there were two kinds of Zionist terrorists. One were the gangs of the Irgun and the Stern gang. The other was the Haganah. But when Deir Yassin took place, Haganah criticized the Irgun and the Stern gang. But in 1946, when the King David Hotel was blown up, then Haganah was part of the terrorist grouping. Incidentally, the important thing of the King David Hotel was not that it was blown up, but a person in it, Count Bernadotte, was the UN envoy to Palestine, and he came from the Swedish royal family. So there are many crimes. Also, the Arab states were less than fully supportive of Palestine. There is a statement from Mahmoud Abbas who says that in 1948, the Arab states withdrew prematurely. And that is why the Nakba, in which more than 700,000 Palestinians were thrown out. Now Zionism, and I had the now fortunate, perhaps in some way, experience of having been trained in a Jewish Sunday school for 3 years in New York. Zionism has about 20% to do with Jewishness. Even Theodor Herzl did not say that Zionism was only for Jews, though mainly for Jews, and he did not deny that there were differences. That is why, even since then, there has been a fight against Zionism. I'd like to refer to two kinds of fights. One is the consistent violation of UN resolutions. Israel has the record of 77 UN resolutions violated. After Gaza, the UN Human Rights Council found the Israeli army guilty of war crimes, which is very strong language coming from the UN, where language is usually mild. I don't think we should be too surprised at Modi coming here, though the age Modi going there to Israel, because some of you are quite young, but you might, those of us who are older, remember that Shimon Peres came here, one of the slyest of all Israeli politicians, president of Israel, and he discussed with Lal Krishna Advani how to solve the Kashmir problem. And Shimon Peres told him, you should do what we did, resettle other people in Kashmir, so eventually the Kashmiris will become a minority and you will have no problem. Of course, a lot of this was denied, but neither Peres nor Advani denied that they had a long meeting. They couldn't have been speaking in Hebrew, so they must have been talking about the Kashmiris. The BJP has a fixation about the Kashmiris. As you must have known, there will be no talks because the Hurriyat might go and meet the Pakistanis, and since the Hurriyat are Kashmiris, you can't have that. But there is now a new assault on anti-Zionist activists. One of them is a person called Ilan Pape, who the famous journalist Robert Fisk calls the best historian on Israel. Not the best Israeli historian, which he is, but also the best historian on Israel. Now, Ilan Pape, after a while, starting about 8 years ago, started getting death threats. So Noam Chomsky phoned him up and said, I'm going to come here and take you back to the United States. So Pape is in exile in the US, his family is in Israel. Why is Ilan Pape so dangerous? Because he has blasted the Israeli theory that there were unclaimed and uninhabited lands. It's taught now in every Jewish school, even in some in India, because very few who happen to be born Jews are anti-Zionist. In fact, I only have one friend who's anti-Zionist, Leela Sampson, and she's not very popular with the Jewry either. But this Zionism is becoming more and more vicious. Under Noam Chomsky's guidance, Norman Finkelstein, who comes from one of the most famous Jewish families, because both his mother and his father were in 2 concentration camps each, and both managed to survive. One was in the Warsaw Ghetto, where the Jews led an uprising and she survived, and his father was in Auschwitz. And Norman Finkelstein has written a book, Israel, Palestine, Truth and Reality. His house was attacked by the Jewish Defense League, which is a semi-fascist organization in the United States. A famous economist called Alan Dershowitz, Jew, Zionist, campaigned against Finkelstein so that he could not get tenure in his job, which he did not get. Then he thought, let me go to my homeland. Of course, not a Zionist, but he said, let me go to Israel. So they interviewed him for 8 hours and said that he's a national security threat and he cannot be allowed into Israel for 20 years. So this is the democracy of Zionism, even towards its own religion, the Jews. Yes, they are involved very much in the troubles in the Middle East. It is well known that they are armed and funded the Free Syrian Army. There are also allegations of them having links indirectly with Islamic State. The Guardian has written that the Islamic State was in fact fueled, not built by, but fueled by the United States and Israel. So how do we fight a force like this? I think the first thing, and remember, there is an automatic symbiosis or friendship between the Indian fascists and the Israeli fascists. The Israeli fascists killed Palestinians, most of whom are Muslim, but there are also Jewish ones, like Edward Said. Christian ones like Edward Said or Arafat's wife. And in India, they are mainly against Muslims again. Though of course at times they would attack Christians also. So it's a milli-bhagat. Then there's an American game. What is the American game? The Pakistanis get upset if they are given very high level armaments, aircrafts to artillery by the US. So now what will happen is the Israelis will give us that quality of weapons. So the Pakistanis will not be unhappy, and the Americans will give those weapons to the Pakistanis. Then also they want India to function as the regional hegemon in South Asia. Pakistan is internally very great trouble. The Taliban has infiltrated. The Pakistani Rangers are trying to destroy the MQM in Karachi. They're in trouble. And of course, once the Americans go, they will have to deal with the Taliban, who are heavily entrenched in Afghanistan. And there's no Ahmad Shah Massoud or anyone else left now. So the Palestinian resistance actually has almost automatic allies from every democratic stream in South Asia and this part. Because who else are the Democrats in even close to Palestine? For example, you would know that when the threat of bombing of Gaza started, the Egyptians locked the entry into into Egypt from Gaza. The fact that 502 children died in that bombing, some of that responsibility must go to Egypt. So the real strength of Israel is the disunity it has caused in anti-imperialist and even liberal ranks, so that the Palestinians do not get enough support. And in this is not just enough to blame Saudi Arabia and others. The fact is that we know that the Americans in Iraq and elsewhere have opposed the Shia militia. There are Shia, after all, in Iran there's a Shia majority, so there will be a Shia militia. But the Americans do not want the Shias fighting together with the Sunnis against IS. Why is Israel interested in Syria? Very simple reason. Because if Syria is intact, arms can go from Syria to Hezbollah. And the Lebanese, Hezbollah plus the Lebanese Maronite Christians plus the Lebanese Communist Party are the only force to ever defeat the Israelis in war. And I, along with Seema Mustafa and Mohammed Salim MP, I was there during the immediate peace afterwards. And of course Feroz. And Feroz also knows that one thing which the Israelis did learn is that tunnels are a very bad thing. Because the Hezbollah was hiding there, and the moment the Israelis came into the fields, the Hezbollah came out and the Israelis suffered bad casualties. So that is why in Gaza they blew up all the tunnels, and the Zionist media, and this time I'm referring to the very so-called liberal New York Times, said actually the tunnels were illegal and they were being used to attack the Israeli soldiers from behind. And the UN Human Rights Council said, no, that's not true. The tunnels were only up till where the Israeli soldiers were, which is perfectly admissible in war. So media is also a problem. In India also, let us be very clear, if we are going to go after Modi on his trip to Israel, where Modi will try to be the Hindu Zionist, there will be repression. But we should be prepared for it. This country doesn't belong to any one political party, especially one like backed by the RSS, which was absent from the national struggle but copied the khaki knickers of the army and the British police. They're not people to tell us what nationalism or the fight against or what the fight against massive insanity and dispossession. I mean, what is the idea of saying there is a West Bank which is separate, a separate part of Palestine, but there are some Israelis. And now there are more than 400,000 Israelis, which leads to the problem of the United States. The United States has even more Jews than Israel, and the rich Jews, the Rothschilds and all, they really did move between France and the United States. So Zionism therefore has gone various places. It was fought, it rose just before the Russian Revolution, it was fought back. And by the way, as a comrade said, number of Jews were in the Bolshevik Revolution. Leon Trotsky's real name was David Brodstein, who was a Jew. So, there are two heritages, if you wish, from Jewry, from Judaism. One is Zionism and the other is progressiveness. Einstein was progressive. Trotsky was progressive. These people, Dershowitz and others, they are retrogressive people. So it's not only that there is a fight against imperialism, we have to have multiple fights and multiple strategies against imperialism. We have to fight their literature, we have to fight their so-called social science, we have to fight their history and the way they have reconstructed the past. And we also have to learn to find new ways of attacking imperialism. It is a challenge. But let me tell you, the Hindu copy of Zionism is something which is already coming on our throats. I mean, I'm with a party which has the government in Delhi. And by the way, we're not getting close to Israel. In fact, the Israeli embassy would tell you that some of us came there personally and gave them a copy of our resolution on Gaza. And we had a public meeting in Jantar Mantar where a number of us spoke on Gaza. So there is no link with Aam Aadmi Party and the Kharab Log Party of the Zionists. The last point I'd like to make is I think we have to do something about our media work. I mean, if you're going to expect Anand Patwardhan and Feroz Mithoriwala and all and others to do all the work for us, it's just not on. We will have to organize more and more because Modi and Netanyahu are natural allies. Both are equally crazy. It has now come out that Netanyahu wanted to bomb Iran in 2011 and 2012. And the Israeli defense minister, Ehud Barak said, you can't do that. And he said, suppose there is the bomb will explode then, hundreds of thousands of people die, we get massacred by the rest of the people there. But they both have the same crazy idea. But the last point I want to make is they're crazy, but they're cunningly crazy. They're like a rabid dog. They still know how to bite or run. And this is going to be a long struggle, and it must be a struggle in which we must maximize our allies. The problem for the Palestinians has been that a lot of the Arab states are scared of having a democratic state in their own country. And so therefore they don't support the Palestinians. Whether it's Sisi or Lebanon, of course, is supportive. But you have Houthis. And why the Houthis? Because they're Shia. And also they want to have a more radical change. So there are potential allies. But we will have to move out, meet the potential allies, deal with international organizations. For example, I work with IJAN, that is the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. Feroz is also a member. So we have to do this. The history is clear. No one who's rational will say that a gross injustice has not been done to Palestine. No one who is rational will say that imperialism and semi-fascism does not exist in Palestine. No one who is rational will say that there is no link between the Zionists in the United States, who are very powerful, and the Zionists in Israel. I'll give you one last example. In the run-up to the presidential elections in the United States, Hillary Clinton wrote a letter to a Zionist newspaper, and she said, if I was in power, I would not stop because 2,000 people have been killed. I would stop only after 200,000 people were killed. Later she said by mistake an extra zero was put there. But as if 20,000 is a small number. So this is the kind of lunatics and frauds we are dealing with. It is a big fight. We may have our differences in this country, but we must unite in the struggle against Zionism, because Zionism is the most toxic and poisonous part of imperialism. And unless we fight that, we cannot adequately fight imperialism. I can assure you on behalf of my party, on behalf of myself, and on behalf of aging professors in JNU in particular, that we will be with you in all your struggles. We will help you in your meetings. We will help you in anything you want to do, because we have the same issues. We cannot let a people be first harassed, then thrown out, then murdered, and then suffocated, like it has been done to the Palestinian people. The fact that Mahatma Gandhi saw it as so important in 1938 means that it is something which has been bequeathed to us, and we must stand up for them every chance we get. Thank you.
साथियों, मुझे पूरा वक्तव्य कोई नहीं रखना है, बस एक छोटा सा क्लैरिफिकेशन था। एक छोटे से एनेक्डोट से बात शुरू करूंगा। फिलिस्तीनी एक प्रसिद्ध साहित्यकार हैं, गदा कर्मी, और उन्हें कुछ समय पहले इंग्लैंड में सोशलिस्ट वर्कर पार्टी ने एक व्याख्यान देने के लिए बुलाया, और उसमें उन्होंने कहा कि फिलिस्तीनियों के पूरी लड़ाई में बार बार हम दर्द, तकलीफ और इन सारी चीज़ों की बात करते हैं, आंकड़े गिनाते हैं, तस्वीरें पेश करते हैं, जो कि ठीक है, और लेकिन ये बार बार हम करते ही जाते हैं। सिर्फ इतने से बात नहीं बनेगी। बहुत सारे लोग सपोर्ट लेटर्स देते हैं, मेमोरेंडम्स देते हैं जबकि गाजा में कोई कत्लेआम होता है, लेकिन इससे भी हम लोग इसका स्वागत करते हैं, लेकिन इससे हम लोग थक चुके हैं। तो इसलिए एक क्लैरिफिकेशन ये था कि अरविंद केजरीवाल मिले थे इजराइल के एम्बेसडर से 22-21 अप्रैल को दिल्ली सेक्रेटेरिएट में उनकी मीटिंग हुई थी। उसमें आशीष खेतान भी मौजूद थे, और इजराइल के एक डेलीगेशन को अरविंद केजरीवाल ने आमंत्रित किया है कि वो यहाँ आए और देखें कि हम लोग यहाँ दिल्ली में किस तरीके से हुकूमत कर रहे हैं, और यहाँ से एक डेलीगेशन वो इजराइल भेजने वाले हैं, और बल्कि खुद अक्टूबर या नवंबर में शायद एक कोई कॉन्फ्रेंस होने वाली है वाटर रिसोर्स टेक्नोलॉजी पे तेल अवीव में, उसको अटेंड करने जा रहे हैं अरविंद केजरीवाल। तो अगर मोदी की विजिट को के खिलाफ हमें लड़ना चाहिए तो अरविंद केजरीवाल की विजिट के खिलाफ भी लड़ना चाहिए। दूसरी बात कि गदा कर्मी ने यह कहा कि मुखालफत करने का सिर्फ एक ही सही तरीका है इजराइल का, कंप्लीट बायकॉट एंड सैंक्शन। ये सिर्फ सपोर्ट लेटर, मेमोरेंडम्स देने से कुछ नहीं होने वाला, उसका कंप्लीट बायकॉट किया जाना चाहिए, इसके अलावा कोई रास्ता नहीं है। और बायकॉट में यह भी शामिल है कि अगर इजराइल का एम्बेसडर, इनफैक्ट इजराइल के एम्बेसडर ही हैड कॉल्ड अपॉन हिम, मतलब उसने बुलाया था अरविंद केजरीवाल को, मिलने की गुजारिश की थी और उन्होंने रजामंदी दी, तो ये और भी गलत बात है। कतई नहीं देना चाहिए था, बल्कि इस पे एक करारा तमाचा, डिप्लोमेटिक तमाचा इजराइल के एम्बेसडर के मुंह पे जमाना चाहिए था कि तुम जैसे कातिलों, हत्यारों से मिलना मैं अपनी शान के खिलाफ समझता हूं। अगर वो सच में इस देश के लोगों की नुमाइंदगी करने का दावा करते हैं, तो उस पार्टी में तमाम प्रोग्रेसिव लोग हैं जिनको एक डेमोक्रेटिक पोटेंशियल दिखता है, वो उनका एक अलग अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो सकता है, एक उनका अलग कंसेंसस विद इन द पार्टी हो सकता है, एक मैंडेट विद इन द पार्टी हो सकता है, व्हिच माइट बी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम व्हाट अरविंद केजरीवाल इज डूइंग। बट एज अ पार्टी मैसेज देश की जनता के सामने तो यही गया कि इजराइल के एम्बेसडर से मिलना और फिर उस कॉन्फ्रेंस में जाना ये गलत है, बिल्कुल गलत है, और वी शुड कॉल अ स्पेड। उस पे रंग रोगन नहीं करना।